Good morning.
How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Another day.
Yeah, we just got back. We're exhausted. We just got back last night from a little vacation.
Yeah, I saw the road trip.
Yeah, look who turned into a teenager too. Say hi.
Yeah, she's getting big.
It's huge. Literally over this past.
Teenager body.
Oh, careful. Literally this past week, she became like she's starting to get sassier. She like looks a little different. We can feel her like moving out of puppy phase.
Yeah, no, they grow pretty quick, especially when you hit that age range.
Yeah,
So enjoy it while she's still somewhat small.
exactly. Yeah, she's definitely. We've noticed particularly when she like gets too excited, she's starting to get a bit more aggressive in terms of um, like whatever. When we're running around, she'll like try and jump on us and try and like bite our legs, bite our arms. We're starting to get like bite marks and stuff. So we're trying to shut it down. And leash walking, if she's too excited on the leash, she starts to like whatever, grab the leash, tug of war.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
On us too. So those are probably the two biggest things these past like week and a half that we've been trying to shut down a bit. But other than that, she's wonderful.
Yeah.
She's not being a terror.
Sure. So like, let's say with the biting at the leash,
Mm-hmm.
right? How do you address that when you're walking?
Usually what we do is try and like get her to sit right away and try and get her to calm down. It doesn't always work. It usually takes a few times for us to kind of calm her down, and yeah, that's kind of the approach we've taken so far.
You have the gentle leader on, correct?
What?
Yes, the gentle leader.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you would do is, if you divert the attention to the sit, she doesn't relate it to the leash pulling.
Okay.
Okay, because you're switching contexts, because you go from walking to stationary. Okay, so
Sorry, again?
Because since you're going from movement to stationary,
Mm-hmm.
you're switching the context, so she doesn't understand that pulling the leash while walking is a unwanted thing.
Okay.
Okay, so what you would do is you would keep walking and pull up, and you'd pull up until you might lift her front paws a bit because she's biting the leash. But then it's going to force, because when you lift her up and she's biting the leash, her body weight's going to be pulling on her jaw, right? That eventually it's going to be too heavy. She's going to let it go. And as soon as she lets go, you just relax and you just continue with your walking, okay?
Okay.
But she can only do one thing at a time. She's either going to pull the leash or she's going to walk,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this is very common with puppies. Easy thing to correct, but most people would do what you did, which is stop and have the dog sit or whatever, which doesn't teach them to not pull the leash because you're switching mindsets.
Okay.
Keep walking at your pace, and then you'll just you may need to shorten your leash or something so that you're not all the way like this.
Getting into trouble. I'm sorry. Hey, get down from there. Get down. Sorry, I had treats over there on the table, and she was climbing. I've never seen you do that before, jerk.
So pull up on the leash and pull up until you start to see her paws come up, and it becomes difficult for her to walk.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see her release, and then you relax, and then she might try again, and then you repeat, and you keep doing that, and then within like 5 minutes, she should have learned, like, all right, every time I bite the leash, I get pulled up, and then then it's really hard to walk and balance and try to bite the leash. I'm not going to do that.
Got it. Okay. So that's a pretty easy fix.
Yeah.
What about when she's like playing, or like when we're running around, like we were at my parents' house or at the beach, and it's like playtime for her when she's whatever, we'll throw a stick or we'll like run around with her. And she kind of transitions into like, okay, time to bite mom and dad, try to, like, she went after my sister's like dresses and fabrics that move. She's just getting a bit too excited, and that's a bit harder to shut down. Any advice on that one?
Right. So it's like moving clothing essentially.
Moving clothing, yeah, and even just like us, like even when there's no clothing, she's been going after like backs of legs that are moving when we're walking or whatever.
Oh, sure. When you're walking,
Yeah.
I'd probably use the same approach, but again, you're not stopping. You're continuing your movement.
I mean walking without a leash. Sorry.
Oh, sure. All right. So if you're walking without a leash, that's a bit harder to correct. It's not hard. It's just since let's say you're outside, right? You're at the park, you're walking her off leash, and she's biting on your pants. You have to correct her for the biting as it's happening.
Okay.
Right? So I would use a bonker.
Okay.
The problem is you're outside, and your neighbor is going to see you bonking your dog.
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
That's why it's harder. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's essentially any of the corrections that we've done. I mean, you can even try the pet corrector, but I would assume that she's so riled up because she's outside that it's going to be ineffective.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how does she now?
15 weeks.
15. Okay, so she's barely 4 months. Yeah. Because it has to be corrected. Not, like redirecting is just going to change her mind for a little bit, but then as soon as you start walking again, she's going to redirect back towards your pants or your clothing.
Yeah.
So what I would do is maybe, I don't know if you guys have like inside the house, try to recreate that, or like if you have a yard or something, a small yard where you can move around so you can correct it, and then ideally it transfers out to when you're at the park.
Yeah, that's the thing is it doesn't happen a ton inside. I mean, it had not yet, I guess. It's literally been over this past week that we've seen her start to like get a bit more excited and bigger and stronger. So I haven't seen her do it in our house, and we don't really have a yard. I think this is where we need to start doing some training, like in different environments, maybe, and get more accustomed to that.
Correct.
Right.
She's just starting to get into like her terrible twos brain, because that's usually around 6 months. But larger dogs do tend to mature faster than smaller dogs.
Yeah.
That's why I always, when people get their puppies, they, for whatever reason, people take things at face value, and they're like, oh, it's such, they're so friendly and sweet. I'm like, but it's only 2 months.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna change a lot.
Yeah. Really.
Yeah. So anytime, starting the moment you see it, and you see stuff that you want to correct, start correcting immediately, because that'll make your life a lot easier over the length of time.
That makes sense.
Okay. But yeah, anything that you can get done inside the home, and try to and what you could try is, so I don't like using the word no, because people repeat it too much.
Yeah.
They use the word, and they don't really do anything to empower it. But like what you could do is anything in the house that you don't want, that you're correcting her for with the bonker firmly, because now you would empower the word.
Mm-hmm.
Is the no followed by the firm correction, right? And you do that all throughout the house. And then when you're outside and you see that behavior start to happen, you're like, well, I don't have my bonker, but I've said no 100 times and I've reinforced it 100 times. It should be effective, ideally.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
The problem with no is just that if you get too used to it, people then, if they say no, then the dog doesn't respond, they'll keep repeating the no. And then that disempowers it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the main thing to be aware of, because it's super common for people.
Yeah, that's fair. That makes sense. I think we've done a pretty good job too of like trying to empower it, either with a bonker or with the touch. I'm fine doing that in public too, like when she's being a jerk. The touches I find easier just because she's like, she doesn't always respond to it, I find, but she's, I don't know, it at least provides some kind of empowerment, like you said, when we don't have like we don't go for walks with bonkers every time, you know?
Right, and you can use, I forgot about the touch too. You can use the touch as well. Just that the only thing is you have to be mindful of just people, okay? Because people are going to come up and say like, "Why are you smacking your dog?" You know,
Yeah.
like, I didn't smack her. I corrected her because she's biting at my legs and it hurts, right? And they're like, "Well, they're just a puppy," and it's like, really, like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So yeah, you can use the touch as well. If she's not responding, or you might see she starts to reciprocate, and she's not becoming aggressive, but she'll like start to curl her lip and jump back at you.
She does. Yep.
She's testing the boundary.
Yeah.
You know, so you're not making her mean, but she's trying to like, you know, trying to be like a tough little kid that wants you to take them seriously.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, when we talk about correcting puppies and then the reciprocation that they give, people tend to misinterpret it as like, oh, this is making my dog aggressive. And I go, no. You think of it as a 2-month-old puppy and they should just respect you because they're a puppy, and they don't.
Yeah.
At the age of 3 to 4 weeks, they start to establish a hierarchy, and respect is earned, it's not given.
Yeah.
Okay, so like for children, you can teach a child, respect your elders, respect authorities, respect your parents, respect your, you know, your uncles and stuff, and they just naturally do that. Dogs don't, puppies don't. Yeah. You have to earn that respect. So if I go to correct her and she reciprocates and tries to correct me for correcting her, then you have to correct firmer, because you have to drive that point across. And you might see her yelp and she might run off a little bit, but then she'll leave you alone. And it's not going to make her.
I don't think I've ever seen her yelp or run off.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm not doing it right. Like we do get into these like little correction fights where she'll come back and I'll be like, oh no, absolutely not. But I've never seen her yelp or run off or let me know. Like she'll kind of like, usually the reaction is her like getting distracted by something else, and after a few kind of like back and forth. So I mean that's like the reaction that I'm looking for. I'm looking to calm her down, but she's not. I don't know. I think she's a tough little dog.
Yes, and you know, you have a golden, so the misconception a lot of times when we have these softer breeds like labs and goldens and, you know, like Maltese, you know, because or golden doodles, is that people see them as these little floofers, whatever, right? And because they're known for like being just soft or like very sweet, they're thinking that they're going to be very sensitive to discipline, and it's not the case.
Yeah.
I had one particular golden retriever who was the friendliest dog ever, right? And you know, we do e-collar work, and the e-collar maxes at 127. The owner would be at 127, and this dog would not yelp or anything, and was just moderately fazed by it.
Yeah.
And he had the highest powered collar.
Yeah.
And I told him, out of all my 10 years of training, I would have never thought that it would have been a golden to be this stubborn.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I'm open. Like, I get it. I was like, you know, like, it sucks, man, that, you know, you have to be that high. But if you look at your dog, he's not yelping, he's not whimpering, right? And he's still wanting to try to forage a bit and all that stuff. So I was like, you just have a very tough dog.
Yeah.
And he was a golden. So, and the age doesn't matter, because you got to remember, they bite each other.
Yeah.
The mom would bite them. And no matter how hard you jab or how hard you bonk, you'll never match the pain or discomfort that a bite would actually inhibit or create.
Yeah, totally.
So it's not uncommon what you're dealing with. And at some point, you may find that the touch becomes ineffective, just because as she gets older, she's going to get tougher and more solid. And that's why there's other tools, and there's prong collars and remote collars and all that stuff. That's why there's the bonker. The bonker tends to be very effective um, since I started incorporating it the past year, it's been very effective with a lot of dogs.
Yeah.
But it's not uncommon. Okay.
Yeah.
So I would just keep doing what you're doing. And then if you're like, I corrected her at a 3 for, jumping, and if she keeps jumping, you want to escalate that to a 5 and then a 7, and maybe she needs a 10 before she learns to not do that behavior.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about is what's currently happening is begging. So I have treats in my hand that she's being a jerk about. And she's been, I think it's literally her lunch. We've got some freeze-dried raw food left over from vacation that we're working on slowly. So it was over on the like I have a little shelf over there that she was climbing up to get at like a few minutes ago, and I've just kind of been sitting with it. But I'm starting to notice her begging a little bit at the table and begging a bit, like, right now, you saw her just like climb right up here, make herself at home, get in my face.
Right.
So at the table we're pretty firm with her. We're letting her know that we disagree, and we haven't, to be totally honest, we haven't done a ton of correction at the table. And we should probably start that, but I don't know. I'd love to hear sort of your advice on like begging in general.
There's exceptions, but I don't feed dogs or don't recommend that people feed dogs from the table.
Yeah, and we never do.
I personally don't care if you do give your dog people food. I just do it outside of that context, because then you create a beggar. And then when people come over, then she's going to be begging from everybody.
Yeah.
But, if I have any leftover, like Chipotle or McDonald's, like I give it to my dogs. I hate throwing away food. So I'm like, well, I got dogs and they'll eat it, so why not? Right? Yeah. But you would correct the moment you see her entering the space thinking she can beg.
Yeah. Okay.
So like if you have let's say you have a little dining room area and you go to sit down and she starts to enter the threshold, you would actually correct there. Okay. Because it would be much harder to correct and kick her out than it is for correcting for just entering.
Got it. Okay.
Because it's don't come in here, as opposed to you shouldn't be here, get out. That's more involved. Okay. Now that can be done, but for the purpose of the session, it's easiest to stop a dog from when they're about to do something.
Yeah. Okay.
Was that just the question? It was just the begging and my thoughts on it?
Yeah, kind of high level. We're only starting to see some of these behaviors. It's literally been this past week. She like hit, I don't know what the trigger was, but she like hit teenager mode where we haven't seen her begging before, and all of a sudden we haven't seen her getting aggressive while playing before. And it's not aggression, it's just it's the wrong word, but she hit teenager phase, and we're starting to see these like more adult pain in the ass behaviors that were I guess so. It's a question about sort of generally begging, but also like what else should we be expecting that we should be.
Depends on your dog.
I don't know. Like right here, it's like her jump like this little kind of on the side like this, right? Yeah.
And then her climbing on top of you, right?
Yeah.
Now I tell everybody, your home, your rules.
Yeah.
I don't care what people do with their dogs, but as long as they're consistent. And if you change the rules, that's fine. But again, you want to be consistent.
Yeah.
Is you want to think, okay, she's cute and small now, but will I allow this when she's full grown?
Yeah.
Okay. And if the answer is yes, then fine.
Yeah.
But if the answer is, well, I don't mind it, but I know when she's full grown, I wouldn't want her to do it on her whim. I want her to do it because I invited her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like you could have soup and she just decides, I want to jump on your lap while you have soup. And that is not a good situation.
Yeah.
Right? So what I would do is achieve that now. I would start correcting her. And again, you'd want to correct when you see the thought. So when she comes up and looks at you, and you know that look becomes climbing up, becomes I jump up, you would correct when she looks at you.
Okay.
Okay. And then, I personally always correct or deter the dog when they are deciding to do it.
Okay.
And then later on, an hour goes by, Josie, come here. She comes over, up,
Yeah.
right? Head on the couch, and now you're inviting her up.
Okay.
Okay, now it's on your terms. But then it's now Josie, get off. And then I push her off. And if she tries to get up, I then bonk her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's elimination and then there's control. So let's say jumping on people. You want to eliminate her jumping on people, period. Okay, as an example. Then anytime she jumped, you would just correct it. Don't worry about teaching her to sit. Okay, because that's an extra step. It's just simple. Don't jump. Okay, so then when she greets people, she'd approach them by walking around them, maybe rubbing up against them. Maybe she does sit just of her own accord. But you really don't care. All you're wanting is to not jump. Okay. Now, because I know Josie and Therapy Dog in the future, first you would correct, and then once that's established, then I would worry about teaching to sit.
Okay.
Because what would make your life easier is teaching her not to jump. But if it always remains an option and you try to mask it with the sit, if she's too excited, she's still going to jump.
Okay.
So by correcting the jumping, it's like, you can't jump, period.
Yeah.
Like, all right, well then my only option is to do this. Okay. You're going to see probably more chewing because her adult teeth are going to start coming in.
Yeah, they already are. She's losing teeth.
Yeah. So correct when she's chewing on something she shouldn't be, and then give her and redirect her to something. Okay. So it's correct and redirect. Most people just redirect, right? Oh, don't chew on my shoe, chew on this stick, but nothing's telling the dog, don't chew on my shoe. Okay. So you want to have both. You're probably going to get more, maybe she starts barking more at you because now she's demanding attention or something.
Okay.
You'd want to correct that. Okay. Because then anytime she wants something, you have a dog that barks at you. And if you're on a call or something, video call, that's the last thing you want is the dog barking here.
Yeah.
I actually just had a client, she's a daycare client. But she's like, hey, is there any way you can help me? Because my dog barks a lot during Zoom calls. And I was like, yes. Here's a towel. Whack your dog, okay? And do this obviously outside of the call, so you're not having to do it during the call. But it was simply just correct the dog.
Yeah.
You know, don't worry about like going to lay down somewhere. Just tell them you don't bark.
Yeah.
So anything that you see crop up, I want you to just think, would I mind Josie doing this in the future when she's a full-grown dog?
Yeah.
And if you go, well, I don't mind it, but I just want her to do it when I say so.
Yeah.
And correct it when she does it, but then determine a means of getting her to do it later on your cue.
Yeah.
You know, so like some people like their dogs jumping on them, but they don't want to jump on their guests, right? So I'll tell them, correct the dog for always jumping, and then say, you know, up or jump to invite them.
Yeah.
The dog learns, okay, I can only do that when I see that cue, and the only person that does that cue is mom. So I'm going to assume that only mom is the one that I can jump on.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. And it's relatively simple. The aversives that we've talked about are meant to stop things. Okay, they're not meant to like teach a dog to do something. Like I wouldn't bonk a dog to sit.
Yeah.
That doesn't work that way. But I would bonk a dog for like jumping at me, nipping at me, barking at me, you know, pushing over me, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You also want to be aware of what you're doing subconsciously. So if you're not wanting this kind of jumping up behavior, you also don't want to reward when she perks her little head up for the Zoom video.
Yeah.
Right? And it's cute. Like, I'm not going to lie. It's funny. She's sitting and I see her little eyes just looking at the Zoom video. But then I see just like going like this and petting her.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then she's going, oh, well, sometimes I also get pet.
Yeah.
And now you have an inconsistency because it's, do I get bonked or do I get pet? And then you create a gambler.
Yeah.
And dogs are meant for physicality. So if there's something that they want, they'll risk the physicality to get the pet.
Got it.
Okay, so being aware of that, now you have to catch yourself, and then you have to address her.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
I don't mind, and I don't mind her on the couch. Yeah, we'll have to think about what. For me, what bothers me is if she's on the couch and like climbing over me and looking for like, I've got like a bunch of like patties here that she's eyeing, and I don't want her to do that. I don't mind if I'm sitting up here working. I don't mind if she's up here. But yeah, we're gonna work on this, Josie. Maybe invite it on the couch. That's what we're gonna have to do. Sorry. You're right, Jesse. As always.
Yeah. I've been doing this a really long time.
Yeah, I know.
It's, puppies, and I sent you that playlist of videos, right? The puppy videos, the mom videos.
Yes, you sent me that.
Did you watch any of them?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right, and you see how firm the mom is?
Yeah.
And adequately, because there is one where I think it's a hound with two hound puppies, and they're like bickering, and she just assertively but calmly walks in and parks them, and then they stop.
Yeah.
And someone might say like, well, Jesse, that dog didn't nip and bite at the puppies. I'm like, no, she didn't. But she came with a very strong assertive energy, and you're not doing that. So it's not to say that dogs always use aggression or aggressive behaviors to stop things. They're very appropriate to what's needed.
Yeah.
So that's why I included that video as well, to show people like, dogs, they know what to do. The humans are the ones that have a hard time deciphering what they can and can't do. Plus society, has made it like wrong or evil for you to correct your dog or puppy, which is a tricky thing. We're actually, this literally just happened an hour ago, but my employees were taking the dogs out for the pack walk. And I guess some neighbor's dog came running at them off leash. And, I've taught my employees, we have to protect our dogs. And I was like, if the dog is running at you off leash, do what you can, but you're going to probably have to kick the dog.
Yeah.
So my employee tried to get inside the building here, and the dog rushed up to the door, and he couldn't get out. And I think one of my other employees came and kicked the dog to back him off.
Yeah.
And now you're going to probably see this on my Instagram pretty soon.
Yeah.
Because she left us a 1-star review and all that BS. And she's like, oh, my dog's friendly, and they kicked my dog. I'm like, well, your dog was fucking off leash.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, my friendly pit pup. And I don't care if it's a pit. But if it's the dog I think it is, that's about a 50 to 70 pound dog.
Yeah.
Running at my employees who have a number of dogs with them.
Yeah. Not okay.
Right. So it's going to happen. And hi, Eric. Welcome to the party. I was just catching Megan up on a little altercation we had going on over here in front of my facility. Yeah. About correcting dogs, And to give you an example, a couple of years ago, I got called to help a rescue with a newly saved Cane Corso. Okay, are you guys familiar with Cane Corsos?
Yeah.
Yes. Very large dog, 120 pounds. Unneutered male, grew up in the backyard, unsocialized. Something happened, so then the dog went to animal care control, to a rescue, to another rescue, to a foster home within 48 hours. Okay. Within 24 hours of being in the foster home, he attacked the roommate twice. Okay. And they called me and they said, Jesse, can you go help out? This happened. I said, sure, I'll go there tomorrow, like 8 p.m. It was super late. I'm on my way there. 5 minutes before I get there, I get a call. I didn't know the number, but I was like, hello? Very panicked. Hey, you got to get here as quickly as possible. The dog attacked my roommate. It's bad. I go, I'm on my way. I'm 5 minutes away, right? I get there. There's like 3 squad cars, okay? I call them. I'm like, why is there so many cops around? He's like, I don't know. They buzz me in. I go inside, and then I hear someone talking, and I go up the stairwell, and I see 2 police officers with a gentleman who's about 6'4", right? Very large man, and he's got a white T-shirt on, and from his armpit down is soaked in blood.
Oh my God.
And he's telling the cops what happened. And what happened was he was sitting on the couch. The dog came to mount him. He pushed the dog off, and the dog attacked and latched onto his side, full mouth. So he had a big jaws chunk here, right, like a bite. He lifts up his shirt, right, and the cops go, "Well, how'd you get the dog off?" And the guy goes, "Well, I started to bat at him like this," and I was like, "Well, what is this?" And he goes, "Well, I didn't want to hurt him." I said, "You have a 100 and 120-pound dog latched onto the side of your stomach. My thumbs would be in his eyes because I thought he would kill you."
Yeah.
So it's the mentality of dogs are innocent creatures, and I'm not saying that they're not innocent, but that they're not capable of doing harm, but they can, right? And they bite each other. That's how that dog was handling that situation. And what he tried to do was dominate the roommate, and the roommate said, "You're not going to dominate me by pushing him." And the dog said, "Screw you, let me show you," right? And to us, it doesn't make sense logically. But dogs aren't humans.
Yeah.
Right? They see things very different. So, when we use physical measures, it's because dogs are physical animals. And of course, you're doing it appropriate to Josie, her age, her size, and the behavior. But not everybody's going to agree with you. You know, part of the process. I was waiting for this day to come personally for us here, because that's, I think, the second time that dog's come off leash and charged one of my employees.
Yeah.
It wasn't even the first offense, but the person feels entitled to try to, how do you say, shame us and all that crap. And when she gets my response, she ain't gonna like it.
Yeah.
So.
That's awful. If you need,
welcome.
If it would be helpful, I'm happy to help. However.
Yeah, we can help flood with good reviews.
Yeah.
Yes, and I told her be transparent, right? And I had a couple I worked with on Saturday whose dog is reactive to Bernese Mountain Dogs. So their dog's racist. I'm just joking.
Weird.
But it's burners. They're like burners. He barks at burners, right? So I was like, all right. They have a neighbor who has a burner that walks them off leash all the time. And the dog runs towards them all the time off leash. And they're like, "We don't know what to do, Jesse." They're like, "Our dog looks crazy because he's lunging and barking, but the only time he'll do it is with Bernese Mountain Dogs. And then we have this off leash one in the neighborhood." I told him, "Well, I tell you what I'll do. If I'm walking my dog and an off leash dog charges me, I will kick the dog. Because it's my responsibility to protect my dog. There are off-leash laws. Your dog is not supposed to be off-leash."
Yeah.
Right? If their dog were to bite that dog, they would not be held liable. Right? So what's worse, me kicking your dog away, or my dog biting your dog and sending your dog to the vet?
Yeah.
These are things that people don't think about.
Yeah.
Yes, we appreciate any and all reviews. But I don't tolerate crap.
Yeah, that's fair.
That couple is a very nice couple. They've asked the gentleman very politely, "Please, like, our dog, would you not do that?" And the guy keeps doing it. So unfortunately, politeness doesn't always work. But some people just feel like they're. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
We've talked about begging a little bit. We've talked about when Josie is too excited on the leash and starts playing tug of war with the leash, and we've talked about when she gets too excited, like off leash.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that you noticed or you wanted to address?
I mean, I think it's the same behavior, like the biting for the leash, but she's also done it with some like loose clothing too.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, like getting nippy basically, and I think she's getting a little bolder as the weeks go by.
Correct. So the reason why I went to that tangent of correcting dogs and then just the BS that might happen is because let's say you're out with Josie off leash, right? And I was like, well, technically you could bonk her, right? But then one, you may not be walking around with a bunch of towels. Two, other people, right? Because they're going to see you whacking your dog, and then they're gonna come and give you the two cents.
They'll come to save her. Yeah.
Correct.
We've already run into that a little bit.
Yeah.
Even in the gentle leader, people are like, "Oh, why are you muzzling your puppy?" We're like, "Oh, get over it. You're fine."
They don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, if obviously you need to correct the behavior. So what I had mentioned was inside the home, you could empower the word no. So that when you're outside and these behaviors should occur, ideally your no is empowered to the point when you can just use that cue. And she's assuming correction is going to happen because you've done it so much inside the home that you don't need to do it outside. Right? Because I'm trying to get the heartache of a full-on, moment with the neighbor or something. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, the hand touch, the Susan Milan touch, and then we talked about how it's not always effective, and she kind of reciprocates. And I said that's normal because respect isn't given from dogs. Like dogs don't just give it to you; you have to earn it. And she's testing the boundaries. And even though she's a golden retriever and like a softer personality type breed, it doesn't mean that physically she's not tough.
Yeah, she definitely is.
Yeah, and anything that you start seeing now that you just think in the future, do I want a full version of Josie to do this in the future, right? Mm-hmm. And if the answer is no, correct it now. If the answer is sometimes, then correct it when Josie wants to do it, but then put it on your terms. So you put it on invite.
Yeah.
Okay, and then that'll make things a lot easier.
That would be a good thing for the like the front seat of the car. We just took her on a long road trip, and she was we tried to set her up in the back, but then she was trying to get to the front a few times, and I would like that to be a like upon invitation sort of thing as opposed to a never thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was because she was hot in the back, and it borderlined with I'm also. Can you correct her? Josie, none of that. That and the couch maybe too.
Yeah.
There's gonna be some confusion as we make that transition. But
in terms of when you should become concerned about things, because you may come across a point where, to give you an example, I have a golden doodle. He's about 3 months old that I'm working with the family. And everything was great until he finally bit the daughter. Did I tell you about that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So, I was talking about corrections because they were struggling with certain behaviors. And I was like, pet corrector, bonker, and all that stuff. But they have 3 children, which makes things harder. And I was like, well, you can keep using the pet corrector, but in my opinion, the dog is past that point. The dog needs physical corrections. Mm-hmm. But the kids are completely against it because they're kids.
Yeah.
One day, the 9-year-old tried to remove a bully stick, and he bit her. He didn't puncture her, but he gave her a good bite.
Yeah.
And I told him, I'm like, well, that's resource guarding. I was like, and it doesn't matter that your puppy's 3, because she's like, he's 3 months. Isn't that out the ordinary? I'm like, no. I'm like, he's a dog. Like,
yeah.
So like, I told him not to worry about it because they're actually doing e-collar training. Like he's coming for a board and train here. So I told him we'd address it.
Yeah.
But if you ever see something from Josie, like maybe she growls at you, right? You do want to look at the context of like, why is she growling? Is she wanting to play? Is she growling because I'm trying to take something from her? Mm-hmm. And then I think about, okay, it could have been a fluke because that does happen, where it was a one-off thing. But the owner gets really freaked out, and I'll say, if it hasn't happened on a consistent basis, or it isn't happening frequently, or on a regular kind of schedule or something like that, I'm not concerned. Okay, but if I start to see every time I enter the room, the dog stares at me and growls at me, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't perceive any of that, of course, here with Josie. But if you ever notice anything, and you're always more than welcome to email me as well.
Thank you.
It's like, hey, Jesse, we noticed this happen. Is this of a concern? And then I'll probably ask you the same questions. How often has it happened? What happened? What's around it? And sometimes things make sense where it's like, oh, sure. If your friend came over and Josie had a bone and the friend tried to take the bone, it's because Josie doesn't know the friend. they're not that comfortable.
Yeah.
You might be able to take the bone, no problem, but you're her family, right? So people tend to think, well, like anybody and everybody should be able to take a bone from my dog. And I go, no. You know, like, would you allow anybody to take something away from your child? Right? And the answer is no. Like, it's my kid's thing. I'm like, all right, well then it's your dog's thing. If anybody's gonna take it away, it's you guys, right? So that would make sense. Now, you know, if she's stealing their things and then possessing it, that's a totally different conversation.
Yeah.
But that's how I look at it. You know, yeah. If anything pops up that we've covered, or just general questions or behavioral things, you're always more than welcome to email us or email me for insight. I'm always happy to help.
Yeah, that's perfect. When would you start on e-collar training, do you think? 6 months? Okay.
And if you know, and remember, because with therapy dog, you cannot have used aversives to train your dog, so you just wouldn't mention it.
Okay.
And then you wouldn't mention that you train with me. If they look me up, they're gonna know. Okay.
Okay.
And like I've had people take the test and fail, and then they do a little program with me. They go back, they do a little warm up outside, a couple blocks down, come back, pass the test, and then you're done.
Yeah.
It's a very simple test, but so many people fail because the methods that they allow aren't reliable.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Yeah, 6 months is a good age, and if you know you're gonna advance her to that degree, it gives you a bit of wiggle room in terms of behavior stuff, because once that kicks into play, it changes the ball game entirely.
Okay.
Because there's some people that their puppies are terrors, and I'll tell them just deal with it for a couple more weeks. And then when they're ready, once we start the big boy training, it's going to be a 180.
Got it.
Okay. Any other questions or like training stuff, things to do in the meantime?
Yeah, I mean, things to do in the meantime is sort of next. I'm always thinking about, like, should we be following some sort of curriculum, so to speak? And then I know this is, I think, our last session via Zoom, right?
Right.
So in terms of, I'd also love to cover next steps, like what makes the most sense, do you think, in your mind?
Yeah,
well,
questions? And Meg's about to start doing, full-time work from home. So I think, probably we'd be interested in doing some, I don't know what the right balance and amount is for us both, like training wise and also financially, but doing some like kind of daytime boarding stuff, I think would be.
Oh, sir, for daycare or something?
Yeah, would be of interest.
She'd be more than welcome here. I was actually talking to Maddie about it because we wanted a puppy that she could use for training videos. Yes. And then I guess you guys live nearby because you're in Wicker, correct?
Yeah. Yep. You can take our dog whenever you want. We'll pick
tomorrow. I know Maddie's in Tuesday through Thursday.
Okay.
So I'll forget about it. But in terms of like training and curriculum, did I send you the Learn to Earn program?
I don't know. We talked about it. I'm not sure if you may have sent it to me and we left for vacation and I didn't.
Sure. Double check that email.
My email. Yeah.
If you would please. And if you didn't get anything, if you just respond, like, please send the documents.
Sure.
The Learn to Earn program is a completely positive only training routine, and it's like a little book, and it's kind of like your curriculum, if you will.
Okay.
And it's good for puppies like Josie. You want to keep things going. For me, like when I get puppy clients and they want to continue puppy training, like I'll tell them no, because it gets so redundant and so not as effective that I'll tell them just save the money that you would spend on puppy training and use it on advanced training in the future.
Okay.
When it comes to daycare stuff, to like just get her out and socialized, more than welcome, of course, to join. We do have transportation if needed that work in conjunction with the bundles. Off the top of my head, a single day is $35. A 5 day bundle is like $34. a day. So it's like 170. A 10 days, 330, which is 33 a day. And the 20 days, 600, which is 30 a day. And then if you do a bundle of transportation, it's cheaper. So I think the 5-day transportation bundle is $10 round trip. So it's $50 on top of the 170. So it'd be $220 for 5 days. And then it gets cheaper the longer the bundle.
Got it. Okay.
There's no obligation in terms of you have to bring her every day or you have to bring her every Monday. I just tell people bring your puppies or your dogs whenever you need to. You know, we're still growing our clientele base. So, you know, once things get to like, oh, we have 40, 50 dogs, then it's like, okay, yes, please schedule your dogs in because now it's very busy.
Yeah.
In terms of like what would benefit her, once a week just to get her out, you know, get her socialized, get her away from you guys, give you guys some quiet during the day. And then it's, you know, really up to you if you want to send her more. Like we get some puppies that come 3 times a day. Bob and Jerry, I don't know if you guys are familiar with, they're on our Instagram. Bob and Jerry are a pug and Conde de Tulier that have been coming to us since they were 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah. And I remember the lady, they're a very nice couple. She called me. She's like, you're going to think I'm crazy. We just got 2 puppies and we don't know what to do because we work full-time jobs. And I was like, your puppies can come to our daycare. And then we started the puppy Head Start program because of them, because they needed help potty training. So I was like, well, with the puppy Head Start, we'll help you potty train. We'll do a little bit of training during the day. And then it's like a regular daycare for your puppies. So they would come here Monday to Friday every day, every week.
Wow.
And now they're old. They're like 8 months old now and stuff. They're potty trained, so they do regular daycare. But you know, they brought them as they needed to. You know, for Josie, she doesn't need puppy Head Start. She'd be fine with the regular daycare.
Okay.
Puppy Head Start's mainly for potty training for the 2-month-old, 3-month-old dogs. The older dogs, she's fine.
Okay.
And the other thing, since she's about 2 months away now from starting e-collar training, is we'll probably get more serious about doing some research of what products to look at, and might, like, if you're okay with it, we might just send an email saying, hey, we're thinking about getting this. Is this a good spend of the money or not, or whatever?
Or do you have recommendations?
Yeah, I just use Dogtra.
Dogtra.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the best brand.
Okay.
Okay.
And once she's full grown, or once we know what she's going to grow to, then you would just contact me and I would tell you which model to get.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
If you want to research that brand, you're more than welcome to.
Okay.
I trust you.
No, yeah. We'll follow your lead. I just want to make sure you're not your product or whatever and expecting you to work with it.
They last a really long time. They're waterproof, depending on the model that you get, and they're the best.
Yeah.
10 years. So
Speaking of waterproof, that was one question I had for you. We brought her to the beach and we brought her like swimming with Maddie and Rudder. She's a little nervous about water, like particularly waves. She is like not down with.
Sure.
So we're starting to introduce her, but she's not like totally loving it yet. Do you have recommendations there?
Yeah. So I might be able to send you a video on how to do that.
Okay.
Water video.
Yeah.
It's not the biggest deal right now because e-collar can fix that super easy.
Okay.
Okay. Great. So I'll see if I can find a video. So there's a way to do it without e-collar. It just might be take a bit longer. But e-collar would be a quick and easy fix to that. So I'm not worried about it long term. But if you want to try to make headway on that, I can see if I can find something for you.
Yeah, I mean, we'd love to be able to bring her to the beach, and she like was stoked about sand and digging around and eating random shit that she found, but the water, I don't know, she was so hot and she would have loved it if
Did you put her on a leash to walk her in the water, or did you try to coax her in using verbal?
Verbal mostly.
Yeah. First thing I do is just pop a leash on her and walk her in the water.
Okay.
And then if you keep finding she keeps trying to escape the water, no matter what you do, I would just wait till e-collar.
Okay.
Okay, because now she's too panicked and she's not going to override. You're just going to stress her out more.
Yeah, that's fair.
Other stuff.
I think that's nothing off the top of my head.
Yeah.
We're just gonna see what new terrors emerge in this next growth period, I suppose.
Yes. You know,
this is probably just a correcting thing too, but did you talk about how she was with your mom's dog? There was she was interacting with an old chocolate lab at her parents' house, and the dog wanted nothing to do with her. It was like practicing that avoidance, kind of like, I'm just going to turn my back and walk away. Like, and she kept Josie kept persisting, like, play with me despite that. And we tried a few corrections and couldn't really get her to back off other than putting them in separate rooms.
Yeah.
Sure.
And my parents' dog, he's old. He's like lost most of his teeth, and
He's probably 13 or 14.
Yeah, but he barked at her a few times and would get really angry at her, and she like would kind of go, "Oh, maybe I'll give him a little bit of space." No, just kidding. Like it was
Sure.
like that quick of a turnaround where it was like, "Oh, maybe you want a little bit of space? Okay, fine." And now I'm gonna
now play with me.
Yeah. So I mean, my reaction most of the time was just like, he'll get pissed at her, she'll get tired, whatever. Like, let her bother him, whatever. And we'd kind of pick her up and tear them apart if he was really starting to look distressed, but that didn't happen much. It was a lot of
it's
me telling my mom, like, don't yell at Sam.
Yeah, it wasn't bad or anything, but it just got me thinking about, like, you know, like kind of big picture, like manners with other dogs, and how do we help her say, like, hey, this dog is telling you it doesn't want to play with you right now, so leave her alone, you know?
So when it comes to other dogs correcting your dog, I'm not a big fan of that mentality unless I know that dog.
Okay.
Now, in your case, the dog was old, no teeth, right? Yeah. The reason why I say that is because, let's say you're at the dog park and Josie's harassing a dog, and then people say, like, oh, just let the dogs handle it. Well, you don't know if that dog handles it correctly.
Yeah.
And because there's some dogs that their intention is correction, but they go overboard and they puncture.
Yeah.
As opposed to a quick bite that does no damage.
Yeah.
So that's the big variable there. So what it would come down to, and I just was talking about this with another client, is the moment you see Josie harassing your parents' dog, is you're correct to correct, but it tells me that you're not correcting firmly. Okay, it's all it is. Okay, and Josie, as sweet as she is, seems to have a very resilient personality.
She, definitely does.
Okay, so do not be concerned or don't be discouraged if you're like, man, I really whacked the crap out of Josie before she finally got the hint. Okay, because no one's cracked that mentality yet.
Mm-hmm.
Once you crack it the first time, then things start to change, because then she's like, oh wow, there are very firm corrections in life, and she may start altering her behavior because she's like, I don't want that type of correction again. Okay, so it's possible that it makes her more susceptible, or it's also possible that that's just her temperament, and that's the level of correction that she will need going forward.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's why in that video with the boxer puppy, I sent you the bonker videos, correct?
Yeah.
Did you both get to watch them?
Yeah.
Yeah. That guy uses considerable force.
Yeah.
He's like, no, whack.
Yeah.
Right. You know, and then so I tell people, look at yourself. Are you really doing that or more in terms of intensity?
No, I'm not.
Yeah. Right. And I get it. It's a psychological barrier. Everybody has it.
Yeah. I think I do that with the touch. I'm definitely there.
Yeah,
I don't know
and
if I've done it.
Yeah, with the object, it's weird because it's like it's an object.
It doesn't fly well.
Yeah. And then there's that also, like, kind of like you were talking as I walked into the call too. There's also that, like, kind of social aspect of it too. I'm probably less likely to do it properly when there's other people around, especially people that don't know her as well.
Correct. And this is why, again, I love eCaller, is because I'm not worried about it going forward. If that's going to happen, because it allows you to correct at the press of a button.
Right.
And you can match her without any physical intensity.
Yeah. So
like,
that visual to other people, it doesn't exist.
correct.
Yeah.
You know, they may not like the box and the fact that you're using the e-collar, but they don't see the physical connection between you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So like I have a client, they're like 60 to 70 years old as a couple, and they got a golden doodle puppy, and he's going to be 70 pounds. So they do prong collar, and I was trying to get them to do e-collar, but they felt bad. And I was like, well, maybe we'll get away with it. So we hit the third class, and they're just yanking the crap out of this dog, and he's not listening. And I told him, like, your dog's more resilient than what you're capable of delivering. Right? And they finally decided, because I trained their son's 2 dogs. So they're familiar with e-collar, but they just felt bad because of the puppy. And then they started the e-collar. It was night and day within 1 session.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because it didn't matter, you know, because they're 60, 70 years old. The wife is a very petite lady, you know, so physically she doesn't have the strength and stuff to perform a harsh correction. And it removed all the physicality, removed a lot of frustration, because now the dog wasn't getting jerked 100 times, you know, because we had a concise tool to converse, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll make life a lot easier once that point happens. So I'm not too concerned, but I'm definitely picking up that the corrections that you're applying aren't correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Other questions, concerns?
I think that's basically it.
Yeah.
We're gonna try and find a few more murals.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You guys are back. There's murals all over the place.
Yeah. There was one on the entire island.
I got to go get on another work call, so I'm going to step out. But
Yeah,
again, sorry for showing up late and leaving early.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I did get a bunch of reactions from, like, we have a bunch of, like, dog followers.
Sure.
Like, oh, tell us more about this. So you should be getting a few. There's one, Maddie and I were talking a little bit of shit, but there's one dog, Rosie the cream retriever. She's about Josie's age.
Sure.
Her parents are, like, full on the, like, dog influencer track.
Oh, sure.
Maddie and I were like, like, it seems like she's kind of exploiting the dog for, like, clout here, but whatever. If she starts working with you, that would be awesome for you guys, I think. If for no other reason than she's a bit of an influencer. So hopefully you got a few more inquiries.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We're planning on doing another one that's going to be a bit easier.
Okay.
The art walk one has definitely gotten some traction. I loved looking at the hashtag and seeing all the murals and stuff.
Yeah.
But I was like, man, this is catching on. I was thinking about doing one. The hashtag was going to be Big Barks for Small Business.
Oh.
And it was going to be similar, where you take a picture of your pup in front of a small business that you've supported before. And, like, you know, just a short, like, oh, we've been to this restaurant. They have great, you know, tacos, blah, 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 this and that. And then in turn, you would enter in another contest, but it would be, prizes would be from other small businesses as well. So it's like promotional for small businesses, considering the times.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, you get to win stuff.
That's awesome.
So,
that would be great.
Yeah. So that'll be the next one, which will be easier because it's just find a small business that you've been to before or something. So.
Yeah, totally. That sounds great.
Yeah.
We're stoked to see you guys doing that kind of stuff too. We want to support it however we can.
Yeah, we appreciate it. That's not my thing. Like, I'm not that kind of, you know, contesty type of stuff. But I had the idea for a while because a lot of people like the pack art walk murals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, let's turn this, you know, it's summer, people are walking their dogs. Let's turn this into something, and it's gained some traction. And then I was like, well, I wonder if we could do something to help small businesses. So hopefully that takes off as well. But we appreciate it.
I mean, from a marketing perspective, I mean, I know that it feels a little weird and kitschy. I'm like, professionally, I'm a marketer. This is what I do all the time. I don't know. It feels a little bit disingenuous sometimes, but that's also definitely what you need to do in order to bring in new clients.
Right.
You know, is like, how are people going to know your name if they don't know your name? You know, and I feel like trainers are a dime a dozen in Chicago, especially.
Yeah.
So I don't know. However I can help, I'm happy to, whatever you need. Happy to help you with.
Trade in services or something.
Yeah, happy to do whatever.
Definitely. I have employees now. I got to think differently in terms of, it's not just me paying myself anymore. It's me paying 5-6 other people. So yeah, it's definitely something that I may reach out to you about. So awesome.
Happy to help, especially my specialties in like PR and corporate marketing. So especially with some of these like review responses or stuff like that, I'm happy to.
You're gonna see my review response right now. You're like, holy shit, that's not how you do it.
I'm happy to. I would be happy to give you feedback or edit, or like writing and responses are definitely, that's like in my wheelhouse, definitely.
Sure.
And obviously I'm a huge fan, so we don't need to, this doesn't need to be a tit for tat situation. I'm really just thrilled to help.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Megan. We really do. Thank you.
Yeah.
If you need anything, you let us know.
Absolutely.
Please double check your email to see if I sent you those documents.
Yeah, I'll look. I frankly didn't.
If not, let me know and I'll get them over to you.
Okay, sounds great.
Awesome. We'll be in touch.
Absolutely. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.